Today we're going to be specifically talking about best practices for real estate agents in various different aspects of their career. I want to start things off with residential agents that are looking to transition into the commercial real estate business. It's a very common space. A residential agent gets sick and tired of selling residential homes, making $5,000 or $10,000 commission checks, and wants to start selling larger and larger properties so they can make some serious money. This has happened over and over again, and it's actually what happened to me in my career as well. I got sick and tired of hustling and having to sell over 100 residential homes per year to make over $1 million. And I feel like I was kind of betrayed by the people who had given me some guidance, because this is what I thought was the only way to make money in real estate, was selling a lot of residential homes. When it comes to best practices as a residential agent transitioning into the commercial real estate world, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, what is currently paying you money needs to be the main focus. So if you're making money right now, and maybe it's residential real estate, or maybe it's life insurance, or maybe it's other industries or businesses that you maybe have started or that you're in currently and you're looking to sell commercial real estate now. So keep in mind that I would not recommend ever, and have never recommended, that you just completely turn off the flow that is currently paying you. What I'd recommend that you do is that you just slowly work down the time that you're allocating towards that thing that is currently making you money, and then spend a small amount of time trying this new thing. As a residential real estate agent, what I did, I was doing over 100 sales a year, and I could not just stop doing what I was doing. I had a lot of expenses, I had a big team, I had a lot of bills that I had to pay, and my lifestyle costs, right? Like I had to keep up with all of that. So I could not just stop the flow. But what I had to do was I was spending, let's just call it 80 to 100 hours a week on residential business, 0 on commercial. And then what would happen, and this is what I recommend, is you spend 80% of your time still creating that flow that pays your bills, and then 20% of your time in the new side hustle, as this is, right? The commercial real estate world might be your new side hustle. And then you're going to continue doing that, where you can try to continue doing the same amount of business you're doing at 80%, hopefully more, but around the same amount of business, so you're not in a struggle position financially. And that 20%, as that continues to roll and turn into some actual business and money in your checking account, is when you can start changing the percentages. I would never recommend that you change your percentages prior to you closing a commission check. In the world of real estate, it takes time to close deals. It's not like a typical sales job where you might be able to do like software sales as an example. You might get a salary, and then you might get, a commission check that same day if you upsell something in some instances, or maybe it's a 2-week lag, but you're going to get paid at least that same month. And that's just not the reality when it comes to most commercial real estate, especially when it comes to sales. Now, obviously with leasing, it's much more common, just like if you did rentals in the residential world, where you can make money right now. So if you're struggling to make some money, focus on rentals and focus on leasing on the commercial side. You can focus on those two aspects because it will allow you to get paid faster. Now, do I recommend you stay in the world of leasing? No, but I do believe that it can pay your bills in the meantime. Now let's flip over to a commercial real estate agent who's just getting started in the commercial real estate business, has never done residential before, they're brand new to the commercial real estate world. What should you be doing? There's a lot of things to be thinking about here. And for me, the first thing that comes to my mind is obviously lead generation, because there's only so many tasks that we should be doing that actually pay the bills. They are lead generation, lead follow-up, pitching deals, getting those offers out, and meeting clients. You can also add in things like growing your network of buyers that you have. What I like to keep in mind is that at the very beginning of your career, this is like you've never earned $1 in commercial real estate, you should probably not be worried about hiring a team. You also probably should not be worried about, having the best systems in place. You have no leads, you have nothing to follow up with, and you have no deals to pitch. That's step one. Let's just get down to the basics. And if we just focus on the basics first, let's build a great foundation. At the very beginning of your career, all you should be focused on is generating leads and then selling those leads. What that specifically looks like is on your day-to-day, the very first 4 to 6 hours of your day, you are legitimately just cold calling. Now, of course, you can call your sphere of influence, and let's even take the word cold calling out of it, because I feel like a lot of people don't like cold calling, or they only see me as somebody who likes to cold call, which that is a large part of what we do, but it's not the only thing. You can do calls to your sphere of influence. You can go out and network and build professional relationships and partnerships and referral partners, right? You can go do that. You can post on social media and work on getting clients through social media, of course. I would just look at it as you have 6 hours to prospect every day. And maybe at the beginning, you might even do more than 6 hours. I mean, there was a long period of time where I was doing 6 to plus, maybe 8 hours a day of lead generation for quite some time because I didn't have any leads. Okay, this was even back during COVID where the business went to zero for a period of time and we all had to rebuild. I was hitting the phones for 6 or 8 hours a day because that's just what it required. Spending an insane amount of time, minimum 6 hours a day on lead generation is just part of the business. Okay, and again, lead generation can be filled with cold calling, warm calling, professional relationships for building partnerships and or social media, whatever you want to fill that with. I'd recommend you do some cold calling because especially the people who come in to the commercial real estate world with no network, no understanding, no nothing, probably one of the better ways to get your foot in the door. It's a little bit easier of a process when you have a lead list with several hundred leads. You're probably going to get something, right? Where if you got your warm contact book, right? Like, and you're 20 something years old, you might not even have a good contact book, right? He's got a bunch of friends from college and high school. Like, they're not going to go buy up commercial property. So you're going to have to go find them, which is why I recommend cold calling, at least so you can understand how that process works. Let's just use cold calling as a base. You're going to cold call for probably 6 hours a day for the first 90 days, and then you can start trimming it down to about 4 hours a day from then on out for probably the first 2 or 3 years. And yes, I legitimately mean 3 years straight of just 4 hours a day prospecting nonstop. And that'll obviously start to blend with warm calls, more sphere of influence calls, more networking, so on and so forth. But at the beginning, it starts with 6 hours because you're trying to build that pipeline. The following hour should just be spent on follow-up. So you're spending 6 hours of new lead generation, 1 hour of follow-up. You're now 7 hours into your day. Now, if you started at 8 o'clock in the morning, okay, that means you're already somewhere at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And yes, I recommend that you spend all day long doing this at the very beginning because the first part you got to do is generate the opportunities. After a few weeks, you're going to now have some opportunities, right? And you're probably going to have spoken to a number of sellers who go, I'm not interested in selling, but I might be open to buying. And then those are going to be buyer leads, which then the entirety of the rest of the day, from 3 or 4 o'clock on, let's just call it 3 o'clock, okay? Again, we got 8 till 12, that's 4, it's 4 hours till 3, there you go, it's 7 hours, okay? You have 3 o'clock now, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You should have food delivered to your door. You should not be going out to eat. You should bring your food, okay, to, save money. And now what's gonna happen at 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock in the afternoon, you got 3 hours to do this, which is now sell all of the leads you just generated. You just generated a number of opportunities today. Whether it's one or it's several, you should just be trying to sell those deals. Because that's the entire focus that we have here as commercial real estate agents. We create opportunities, we sell opportunities. And you're only gonna go on appointments to even go to see those leads that you generate, those opportunities you generate after 3 o'clock. Because that is part of the offer generation. Going to see those properties, going to shake the hand of the seller. That's all part of it, but you're gonna do that after 3 o'clock. It doesn't interfere with your lead generation time. That might be a 9 or 10 or 11 hour day if you break it down, right? 7 hours plus 3, okay, 10 hours. Okay, so you got 10 hours a day for at least the next 90 days straight, and then maybe you'll be able to cut it back maybe 2 hours, and then you're just gonna literally work 8, this is just a simple 8 hour day. 4 hours lead gen, 1 hour follow-up, a number of hours pitching those deals, and that's the game. And that won't change until you start to make more money. And that, again, is just the simplicity of the game. I just want you to keep in mind, if you're brand new in this business, I want you just to follow that blueprint until you've got enough money in the bank where you can start hiring people, because that's the next phase. So the next block is between $100,000 in income and $300,000 in income. Where when you start getting to those 200-300K range, kudos to you, that's really great. I mean, a lot of companies never get that far. And, a lot of small businesses try to even break the six-figure mark per year. And we're talking profit because you probably don't have, much overhead, especially you really shouldn't. The only overhead you're going to have is really the compensation structure you have with your brokerage or your team. Now that you're making between $100,000 and $300,000, what differences, what moves should you be making, okay, that are not the same as an agent who's, struggling to even make their first 6 figures? So let's quickly talk about this. The best practices for somebody in this bracket is going to be 2 things. Number 1, metrics and working on systems. And number 2 is going to be around the support staff that you bring in to help you. This is all about support. Because what's happening here, when typically, at least what I've experienced personally and what I've seen people experience through coaching and working with people, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of agents nationwide, they just get overwhelmed. And they stop doing what actually works and gets them paid, and they are spending too much time bogged down in the weeds with things that actually don't result in them making some money. This is the same exact type of agent who is doing well. I mean, good for them. Making $100,000 to $300,000, good for you. That's great. However, typically what's happening is that you generate a lot of opportunities. You generate a lot of great buyers, and you're finding these opportunities. You're trying to sell these opportunities. You got some listings. You got some leases that you're doing, right? And you're starting to make some good money. The problem is that like you have so much going on, and you're like a chicken with a head cut off, and you're just running around to all these different things, trying to make things happen, and you just don't have a good system, a good process, because you're being pulled in all these different directions. What you need is to break things down and start delegating. So let's talk about exactly how you can do this very simply. Number one, get support. So what support's going to look like is hiring a transaction manager on a per transaction basis. You literally can pay somebody $500 to $1,000 per transaction. You just pay them after the deal closes. So the money goes into your checking account, and you can pay them $500 to $1,000 out of that. So if you're making $25,000 or $50,000, $100,000 plus, if not multiple six-figure checks, and you're going to pay somebody $500 to $1,000. Yeah, I mean, it's literally that simple. And when you think about it, the dollar per hour that you're going to get back in the ease of your mind, that you're going to be able to think so much more clear and focus on what will actually get you paid, is worth tenfold. You can literally just go hire somebody in your local market who understands the deals that you do. Might even just be another real estate agent who might need some money, right? There's a lot of agents you can reach out to on multiple different, Facebook groups. With EXP Commercial, there's Work Chat, and that's how we found a number of agents that we like to work with because they understand our processes and things like SkySlope, and I don't have to reteach them softwares. We've been able to hire people a lot through that, and that has freed us up. And then I've seen this a lot with other agents where like as soon as you hire a transaction coordinator on a per transaction basis, they just go. So it's a really simple hire, and it's going to allow you to breathe. So that's going to be one. You're going to need two. Okay, there's two specific hires that I would even recommend. And if you don't have both of these and you're making between $100,000 and $300,000 or more, I highly recommend hiring both these positions right away. So one's that TC, and the second is a VA administrative assistant. So what this is going to be, and I actually used to have in-person administrative assistants that I was paying $40,000 a year to, with healthcare, with all these other added in things, with 2 weeks paid vacation and all this other stuff. And I'm like thinking back now, and it's just wild because I mean I had payroll $50,000 a month at one point, and I was like, why on planet Earth did I ever have it at this stage? And I mean again, we were doing over $1 million in gross commissionable income, but it's like I'm spending all this money on payroll because I was trained, I was taught that I had to have in-person staff. And I even see this to this day where like I see a lot of these companies, a lot of these teams where they have in-person staff. They have like 6 people and they don't even have that type of production, where you can literally have the same 6 people be VAs, and instead of having $30,000 a month in payroll, you can literally have $3,000 or $4,000 a month in payroll and net the remaining $25,000, right? Or $26,000 or $27,000, right? Like, I mean, it's such a smarter move to just have them as VAs, and they literally do the same work for cheaper. Okay, and honestly, my VAs do a fantastic job. I'm up to a dozen VAs now. Our VAs do a wonderful job. They take care of everything that they need, and it's honestly the same exact work, or at least very, very close to the same work for a fraction of the cost. So what I recommend you're doing here is you're hiring a VA, which you can go on Upwork, you can go in Facebook groups, you can reach out to people like, hey, post a status on your Instagram or on your Facebook and say, hey, who here has hired a VA? Where have you found them? I'm telling you, literally, we found them on Upwork, we found them in Facebook groups. Those are the two main places we found people, and then the VAs that we then hired had friends that they introduced us to, and we interviewed over and over and over again until we found the right people. Okay, that's just how it's worked for us. What I want to share with you here is exactly what they're going to do for you. So that VA, think about it, your TC is handling all the transaction management. They can even do your listing management, okay? You can pay them $250 or $500 when the deal closes, because they can just stack up their hours, right? You're paying $20 an hour to do whatever work, and then as soon as the deal closes, you just pay them their hourly wage, okay? And by the way, listing a property for sale only should take them maybe an hour or two. So you're paying $40, right? Or $50 if you pay them $25 an hour. So it should not be that much money. Now your VA is going to be handling the following. Number one, we love to have them handle our CRM and lead management. So this is making sure every single lead in our CRM system is being touched with an active campaign, okay, which is an active text and email campaign, because we use Follow Boss with a lot of our different with the different teams I work with. We like using Follow Boss. We found that it's been incredibly lucrative. Any CRM system that handles text and email campaigns, you can use it. I mean, it doesn't have to be rocket science. Okay, I used Follow Boss when I was in residential business. We just continued to use it because it was already built out. They also want to make sure that those leads have every single lead has a next step task assigned to it. So if you have a bunch of leads in there and then there's no next step task, and it could be in 2 years from today, that's okay, but it needs to have a task, which means like next time to call them. And that's what I mean by a task. Next time to reach out to that individual. because I just don't want any leads falling through the cracks. So our VA handles all of that. Our VA also handles creating all the offering memorandums. So we don't have to spend time creating a PDF for it, okay? We also have them write up our letters of intent, so we don't have to spend time writing up our letters of intent. They'll send out the letters of intent once they've been approved by us. They can send it out for signatures. Again, your TC could also possibly even help out with some of these things. We've had our VAs handle this. Our VAs also can pull a lead list, import the lead list, right? Make sure everything looks, it's nice and easy, so you can literally just walk into your office, click on Mojo Dial or whatever dialing service you have, and you can literally just start dialing. You just want to make it where you can think a lot less and do a lot more. Okay, that's the simplicity of having support. And what's wild to me is like, hey, if you're making $100,000 to $300,000 a year, which is great. Let's just say you're working 2,000 hours a year, okay, which is just a 40-hour work week, which I'm not saying everybody is, but I think the quick reference is like roughly if you're making 300 grand a year, that means your dollar per hour is something around $150, right? You divide it by 2 and move a 0 or 2. So it's like $150 an hour at 2,000 hours. This is rough math, okay? The only way to increase your dollar per hour, which will make you more money, is going to be delegating the things that are not worth that amount of money per hour, right? Because if you're making 100 grand a year, 2,000 hours, $50 an hour. So if it does not make you at least $50 an hour, you probably shouldn't be doing it. So does creating an offering memorandum make you $50 an hour? No, you can delegate it for $4 an hour or $7 an hour or $9 an hour, right, for a VA. And this is with many things, just like managing your CRM or things like your LOIs or even sometimes your emails. And sometimes you can even have 1 or 2 VAs for a fairly reasonable price, and they can handle just about every single administrative task, and they just have to send you a summary at the end of every day of what they did and how everything went, and they have to attach a little document so that you can kind of keep track of exactly where they're at. I mean, it really can be that simple. And sure, you're going to probably spend a week, 2 or 3, working with them and making sure you're doing probably a little bit more micromanaging at the very beginning, but over the long term, it will pay you back in spades. Lastly, let's talk about somebody who is making $300,000 or more. All right, again, kudos to you. You're definitely getting into the 1% club officially, because everyone talks about being in the top 1% of real estate agents, but let's just be honest, 1% in America right now, I think, is somewhere in like the $500,000+ a year range. In real estate, I mean, like realistically, if you're in the top 1% of realtors, you're probably somewhere in that vicinity as well. To get into the 1% overall, and actually, let's just say the 1% of 1%, which means you're netting $1 million or more in the real estate business, let's talk about exactly what this looks like. It's going to be the next level above what we just spoke about, which is the support side. There's 2 big things you need to be thinking about in order to scale your business to the next level. Number 1 is realizing the only way to get to the next level is by doing 3 things. Number 1, selling more real estate. Number 2, selling more expensive real estate. And number 3, having that real estate deal have a higher commission percentage on it. There's a magical 4th way, which a lot of people forget. Hiring people to do those things for you, which means hiring junior agents. So there's going to be many of you guys who are listening to me today and saying something along the lines of like, well, I've been a solo agent my whole life. I make $600,000 a year or $900,000 a year or $2 million a year. Well, that's great. And again, if you're making over $1 million a year as a solo agent, kudos to you. If you want to be making substantially more money, it typically will mean hiring junior agents and growing a team of agents that you also are the team leader and main producer for, which is the point. I'm not telling you to stop producing. I'm saying you need to have junior agents that are also adding to your production. If every junior agent you hire grosses $100,000 in commission and you have a 50-50 split, that's $50,000 per agent. And as you train them and coach them and they rise up, all of a sudden now they're doing $300,000 a year and you make $150,000 per agent on your team. You have 10 agents on your team, that's another $1.5 million in net income to yourself, plus the $1 or $2 million or $300,000 that you're already generating. This is all of a sudden how a team and all that higher level support of junior agents can take your income to a completely different place. And if you have any questions, make sure you drop it in the comment section down below. Appreciate you guys following the journey. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, everyone.